You're going to want to start with middle C. This is home. You're probably going to be sitting right in front of it. It is the middle of the keyboard. You find it, if you have to find it, you can count up from the very C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then you are back at C. I included all of the black keys that you see here, and I called them sharps. We were moving up the scale. They're called flats when you're looking at the notes backwards. We'll go over that in a second. But let's just start with the basic notes as well. So you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You're back at C. That pattern is going to continue as you go up the keyboard. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There are lots of little acronyms, tricks that you can use in order to remember all the notes on the keyboard. I'm actually going to teach you some acronyms later when we're looking at sight reading and music. But basically, those are your notes. That's what you're going to be working with all across all 88 keys on the piano. Now let's go over these black keys, which you see here. These are called sharps or flats. When you are moving up, this is C and this is C sharp. Okay, when is this note a flat? This note is called a flat when you are looking at the note above it. So C, C sharp, D. In relationship to this note, this is a D flat. The distance between all of these keys is called whole steps or half steps. So when you're looking at sharps and flats in relationship to whether it's a C sharp or a D flat, that's always going to be a half step. So the distance between the white key and the black key is a half step. The distance between two white keys is a whole step. C to C sharp, to D sharp, those are all half steps. C to D, to E, to F, to G, those are all called whole steps. Basically, these half step, whole step terms are just in regards to whether the tone is higher or lower than the note and by how much. There are instruments out there that can play in between the half steps and whole steps, but they don't do it very often. It often sounds way out of tune, and if you try to play that with other instruments, it sounds really out of tune. So all instruments deal in half and whole steps and in these notes. So this 12-note pattern that you see with these black keys and these white keys does happen all across the piano. Now I'd like for you to do something for me, do something with me. I want you to start figuring out the patterns on this keyboard. So I'd like for you to go across your keyboard, and whether you have a full piano like I do with 88 keys or you have something smaller, go ahead and find all of the 2-note black keys and just play them. There's one set, there's the next set. Okay? So there are all these sets of 2 black keys together, and then there are all these sets of 3 black keys together. So I want you to find those and play them with me as well. I'll start at the top of the keyboard. You'll notice if you have a full keyboard that there's one lone black key down there at the bottom. That is a B flat or an A sharp, depending on how you look at it. I really wanted you to do that. I want you to start recognizing the patterns in the keyboard. So for the most part, there are 2 black keys or 3 black keys grouped together. Now we're going to take a second and find all of the C's. We can start with middle C, go up the keyboard, we'll come back to middle C and go down the keyboard. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The very top note on the keyboard is a C. And starting from middle C again, we won't recount it, but then there's 6, 7, 8. There are 8 C notes on a full keyboard. You are going to go through, your homework is to go through, do that with C, do the same thing with D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. And as you go between all of these notes that are the same across the keyboard, I want you to remind yourself that that is called an octave. There are 8 whole steps in between every same note. So from this C to this C is 8 whole steps. That's why it's called an octave. As we go, I'm going to teach you terms. We are going to have a day where we go over terms, but just try to keep track of the terms as we go along. It'll help you a lot later if you're ever playing with anyone else or if you're trying to learn music on your own. Also, try to, as you're playing all of these notes, take a listen to the tone as it comes out. If you're playing on a beautiful baby grand piano like this, you're going to notice that as you strike the note, and you listen to it, there's a wavelength that kind of comes towards you. The note isn't just totally straight, it kind of comes at you in a wave. As you start to listen to the piano as you're playing, if you ever want to play by ear, you'll start to be able to then hear in your head what the C above middle C sounds like, that octave. And just really listen to the wavelength as it comes towards you. Even if you're working on the keyboard, do the same thing. You probably aren't going to get the same sort of wavelength effect out of a keyboard, but you're going to be able to start recognizing the different tones and where they're placed. Your homework, like I said, is to go through every single key, every single note. As a review, let's go over the black keys so you can remember those as well. From middle C. This is C sharp or D flat. From D, this is D sharp or E flat. And you have E, F. This next black key is F sharp or G flat. G, G sharp or A flat. A sharp or B flat. B, and then you're back at C. It's going to work the same way. And if you're a little confused by the sharps and the flats, we're definitely going to be continually going through that as we go. We'll look at it on a staff, we'll look at it on scales, we'll look at it in chords. You'll start to get the hang of it and recognize there are 2 ways of denoting the same key when it comes to the black keys in any sort of music. So that was today's lesson. I hope you got something out of it. Make sure you do your homework, spend some time on the keyboard, and I will encourage you every day to just sit down, plunk out some notes. You don't always have to do exactly the homework I tell you to do. It's supposed to be enjoyed, so enjoy it, and we'll see you in our next lesson. Forgot about that. We do need to get that part.